Hey, happy Friday, everybody, and welcome into the First Call podcast. Jeremy Plonk and Jeff Siegel with Express Bet and First Bet. Oh, what a weekend we have. It's Whitney Day at Saratoga, Clement Hirsch at Del Mar. Sunday, we've got the West Virginia Derby at Mountaineer. Between that and now, we've got the Hambletonian Saturday for the harness set at the Meadowlands. And Jeff, today, the Hall of Fame inductions in Saratoga Springs, but they probably should have had it at Santa Anita on the apron. Five California-based horses or connections, jockeys going into the Hall of Fame today. We salute Arrowgate, California Chrome, Songbird, Corey Nakatani, and the veteran jockey Fernando Toro. These are all neighbors for you.
Yeah, we should have a wing out here for the West Coast version, but sometimes I look at I don't care who. I don't care who goes in. I mean, I'm happy for the people who do.
Sure.
Sometimes you kind of scratch your head and say, "Is he really a Hall of Famer?" But in this particular case, I wholeheartedly endorse each of the inductees because I go back to Fernando Toro. Used to ride a lot of horses for me back in the '80s. Wishing Well, for one, was just a match made in heaven between Wishing Well and Fernando Toro. Of course, Wishing Well, the dam of Sunday Silence, but she was a terrific race mare in her own right. And one of the great turf riders of all time. And in fact, Chris McCarron, who became one of the great grass riders of all time, credited Fernando with kind of teaching him how to ride grass. And
Right?
So, that's the way it was. And so he gets in. Corey Nakatani, very, very skilled rider out here, won a lot of big races. Songbird, a fantastic racehorse, and then of course California Chrome and Arrowgate certainly did enough on the racetrack to warrant an inclusion. So I'm happy, good for that, and congratulations to all involved.
On a personal note, with Corey Nakatani's retirement now going into the Hall of Fame, my wife actually has to handicap races because for literally a decade, the first 10 years we were married, who do you like in this race? She said, whoever Nakatani's riding. It was just, she just picked Nakatani every single race. So it's a good day for Corey Nakatani going into the Hall of Fame. I remember those Breeders' Cup sprints and teaming with Janine Sahadi and the success he had. Nakatani, a really good finisher. Toro, a really good finisher. If there's a moral to the story, get a jockey who can finish a race and maybe you'll end up in the Hall of Fame. Ron Anderson, the jockey agent, made a tweet this morning saying that this is his 8th Hall of Famers because he represented both Nakatani and Toro at one point in their career. He's now represented 8 Hall of Fame jockeys. Jockey agent maybe for the Hall of Fame. I don't know if we even have a jockey agent in the Hall of Fame, if that's a category. But Ron Anderson would probably be the first one in if there is.
Well, he is kind of like the leader of the pack, and when you talk about great agents, he's the first one that comes to my mind. I'll never forget when I first met him. It was 1974, and the press box at Bay Meadows, I got introduced to him. We were both young guys in our early 20s, and the guy who introduced me to Ron said, this is Ron Anderson. He's a jockey's agent. He's nobody now, but someday he's going to be somebody. And I said, I hope he will be, And so then I said, okay, well, whatever. And then he was somebody and is a big somebody now.
Absolutely. And he has Joel Rosario as well. And he said that could be his 9th Hall of Famer someday. And I think that's probably true.
Yeah,
I think we will see Joel Rosario in the Hall of Fame when his eligibility comes up. Let's take a look at our races. This is a handicapping podcast after all. Here's the menu that we've got for you coming up for this August 5th and 6th weekend. At Ellis Park, it's Kentucky Downs Preview Day on Saturday and Sunday. They've got 3 stakes races, prep races for the big turf scene at Kentucky Downs. We'll look at the Kentucky Downs Preview Mint Million Stakes on Saturday at Ellis. To Saratoga for Whitney Day, where 5 stakes are on the docket: the Troy, the Lure, the Test, the Saratoga Derby Invitational, and the Whitney. Stakes action today on a wet Friday also at Saratoga includes the Saratoga Oaks and the National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame stakes, apropos. At Del Mar on Saturday, the Clement Hirsch will be renewed for the Distaff Division. And on Sunday, our Express Bet race of the week is the West Virginia Derby. Full field of 12 with 2 also eligibles entered in that one, and some big name trainers are heading their horses towards Chester, West Virginia. We'll talk about the West Virginia Derby because, frankly, Jeff, any race with the word Derby in it is going to attract me. It's just one of those catchwords. You put a Derby behind a race name, and I'm interested in it. We even got the Manitoba Derby coming up this Monday night in Canada if you go to Assiniboia Downs. So any Derby, I'll dip my toe in the water for.
Yeah, and the money's good. I mean, let's face it; these are big races for the individual tracks, the B tracks, so to speak. So they do occasionally attract really good fields. This is the one that we have on Sunday. I don't know if there's any champions in there, but it's
No.
competitive, and that's what you
Right.
want. So you enjoy that race. Every state's got a derby. I mean, the Indiana Derby, the Iowa Derby, the Louisiana Derby. It's kind of like a regional thing. And if you got a 3-year-old, you better get it now, because when they turn 4, there ain't no more derbies. And I know the real world kind of hits you in the face. So if you have a good 3-year-old who can go a distance around, there's someplace for you where you can make some serious money.
All right, let's try to make some money with our first stakes test that we're going to handicap. It's the Kentucky Downs Mint Millions preview for the Turf Milers on Saturday at Ellis Park. Jeff, you like a horse in here. We don't have the replay of his allowance win, but tell us about Minnesota Ready, a 20-1 shot in the morning line that you're taking on top.
I went with him because and you can watch the Ellis Park replay if you go to ExpressBet, and you can bring it up and call it up and watch it. I suggest you do, because Minnesota Ready ran a spectacular race. Now, it was he earned a career top 95 Beyer number, and it looked every bit of that. He won by 6 in this allowance race, leaving his previous form far behind. He did it so impressively that it was just one of those wow races, and he's really starting to get good. His numbers are strong. Now the question is, though, okay, that's great, but that was a dirt race. This is grass. You look at his turf form: 6 starts, 0 wins, a second and a third, no thirds. I mean, he's a dirt horse. Why do I like him on the grass? Well, the grass form is not all that bad. I mean, it doesn't look good on form, but a couple of races he was overmatched. A couple of them were sprints. A couple of them were before he got good. He's by more than ready. I refuse to believe that he doesn't like the grass, being by more than ready. Right. Plus, he's inside, and while he can be on the pace and take pressure, he's just as good when you take him back. And there's a couple of others in the race that can show speed. Here's the thing. I think he's a lot better than 20-1. That's the whole deal. I mean, if he can duplicate his last race and transfer it to turf against this group, which is obviously a tougher group, I promise you he can win or be right there. So it's rare that I get a 20-1 shot that I'm this bullish on. And while I don't guarantee he's going to win, I guarantee you he's better than 20-1. So if you're gambling, take a look at Minnesota Ready, number 1 in the 9th race at Ellis Park, the Kentucky Downs preview, Mint Millions Turf Mile, $200,000 purse. It's a good race. It's a good gambling race.
Yeah, and again, one of 6 stakes races over Saturday and Sunday, 3 each day at Ellis Park to preview the stakes action at Kentucky Downs, which will kick off in September. Let's go to Saratoga on Saturday, where the 5 stakes races on the card culminate with the big one, that being the Whitney, grade 1 for the Breeders' Cup Classic Division, a win and you're in. But we will start our handicapping in the Troy. And look, there's no hesitation for Breeders' Cup champions right off the bat. Yeah, we're talking Cody's Wish in the main event, but we've got Caravel, Jeff, running in the first stakes on the day. It's the Troy, and she's a filly who runs against the boys often and does well against the boys. In the Jaipur at Belmont Park earlier this summer, she was fantastic. Let's go back and take a look at that one, where the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint champion was back in fine form.
With Caravel right there on the outside. Arrest Me Red is in between horses. Surprise Boss is on the extreme outside. Go Bears Go is in behind horses, along with Air Force Red. And here she comes now. Caravel is up now to grab the lead, and Casa Creed is now kicking in. It's Caravel in front. Casa Creed surging on the outside. Late run here from Big Invasion. It is Caravel trying to beat the boys again. Far outside Big Invasion. Caravel has done it. She wins the Jaipur by.
Not that she needs any form flattery, but Casa Creed has already won a stakes at the Saratoga meet. Couldn't catch her that day. Big Invasion has run well on the turf sprints. Caravel, she's just the best turf sprinter in the country, simply put. And when she's on her game, Jeff, she's awfully hard to beat. And
she's got a couple of months now to recover from what looked like a pretty hard race. In fact, she's had a pretty hard spring. I mean, she had 3 races, won all 3. Had to lay her body down in every one of those 3 races. didn't get any kind of breather or easy runs. So Brad Cox gives her a couple of months off. Obviously, he thinks she's ready to roll again. This is just a grade 3, but the purse is solid, $300,000, and she drops weight. Actually, carrying only 119, and she's been carrying more than that. And she's 2 out of 3 lifetime at Saratoga, nicely drawn in the 4-hole.
Right.
Style where she can go to the front, doesn't need the lead to win, can sit second or third just as easily. I guess he's probably thinking there's no reason not to run her.
Sure.
And there may not be a lot of reasons to bet on her either at 3 to 5 in the morning line, especially since she doesn't always blow you out of the water. She tends to make it close sometimes, and she gives you kind of a little bit of a worry, but I mean, she's a fun mare to watch, and I hope she wins. I expect that she will. She should just outclass this field with anything close to her best race. But a good mare to enjoy. Number 4, Caraval, likely winner of the Troy.
She doesn't need the lead, and she may not get it in this spot. No Balls is awfully fast. I mean, he's as quick out of the gate as anybody. He'll be definitely flying out of there. The 2-horse under Vargas, a key guy, also has a ton of early speed. This could cook early. Caravel's going to have to sit just a little bit in here. She's not going to be a deep closer by any stretch. But if you're going to try to upset her, I wouldn't try to do it with a horse in front of her. I think you pay the tax if you try to get in front of her. So I think you're looking, if you're trying to beat her in here with a closer, if you've got one that you like. On form, I don't find a real come from behind horse with a lot of enthusiasm in this spot. Maybe Cogburn, who's won 2 against Easier down at Lone Star, going 5/8 on the turf. But Cogburn was a dirt horse, and then the turf races at Lone Star, especially a turf sprint, they really don't tell me that a horse is going to love turf because it's a very short crop turf course. Summertime there, very hard and firm. That's not what you're going to get at Saratoga after we're off the turf on Friday for many of the races because of rain. It's going to be a lot more give in the turf course. So we don't know if Cogburn really likes a true turf course yet, but he would have the running style if you're going to find an upsetter to maybe look at. Steve Asmussen hasn't had the best of meets, but he's won some big profile races so far at the Saratoga stand. But I just don't see a closer that I have a lot of confidence in to try to come and get her.
I don't either. I like I say, this is a grade 3, and without Caravel, it is a grade 3. With Caravel, you might say, well, that's a tough grade 3. But I'm just going to assume that Brad Cox thinks that she's spot on. Otherwise, he wouldn't be running her. There's no need to, so trust the trainer.
Let's go to the Lure Stakes, our second stakes to look at. It's race number 7 on the card Saturday at Saratoga. The Fasig-Tipton Lures, $135,000. Mile and a 16th turf race here. This restricted to horses who haven't won a stakes race yet in 2023. So you're looking for horses who are stepping up in class, or maybe a horse coming out of restricted company, which keeps you eligible here. And that's what you get with Dakota Gold, winner of the New York bred Hudson Valley last time out.
Dakota Gold is now gaining ground on the outside. Dakota Gold on the far outside is within 3 lengths of the lead. Ruse now takes over at the top of the stretch. Here's Jerry the Nipper. Here's Dakota Gold on the extreme outside. Dakota Gold now kicking in. Jerry the Nipper's in between horses. Ruse is down at the rail. It is Dakota Gold who has the lead in the stretch here. Then Jerry the Nipper and Some Like It Hot Brown. They come on for the finish, and it is Dakota Gold and Rod Ortiz Jr. They won by 3.5 lengths.
For an open company, but again, these horses have not won a stakes race in 2023. Portfolio Company comes off a couple wins for Chad Brown. Back-to-back wins in Allowance Company. Fits the conditions well. So, Jeff, this is a good handicapping test to race with this kind of conditions.
Yeah, he's got a chance to run in this race, even though he is a stakes winner. Now, he's been beating New York breds, but he's been doing it well, and I like him. He's a lightly raced 4-year-old by Freud. He's only had 11 starts, 5 wins. He earned a career top buyer speed figure in that race, and didn't get the best of runs. Had to rally wide, but did it well. And he's proven at Saratoga. He won a stakes over this course last year. Got the great style where he sits in the second flight and can give you a second move. And while this is open company, and it is a competitive race,
Right.
I just went with Dakota Gold just because I like him and because I know what I'm going to get from him.
Right.
He's run some decent races in open company, so it's not like this is new to him. And so with Irad Ortiz Jr., we're riding him, knows him well, gets a lot of run at him. At 5-2, I think Dakota Gold is to me, the most dependable horse in the race.
Trainer Danny Gargan looking for his second win in the meet, where you're usually seeing him win at a higher strike rate in Florida and New York. We'll see if he gets hot again here with a horse who's on a roll right now in Dakota Gold. Let's go to our third stakes race at Saratoga on 5 Stakes Saturday, if you will. It's the first of the Grade 1s. It's the Grade 1 test, $500,000, 7 furlong sprint. Jeff, the top 3-year-old fillies in America show up in races like this every summer, but a lot of times they're sprinters and not necessarily your Oaks types. But we have the Kentucky Oaks winner in here, Pretty Mischievous. And we've got our old rival, Darth Vader. It's the third straight time. They're just kind of following each other around the country, from the Kentucky Oaks to the Acorn and now to the Test. We've seen these two in battle before, and it was a great matchup last time out in the Acorn. Want to give the fans a chance to see Pretty Mischievous going head-to-head with Darth Vader, and I mean head-to-head in the Acorn.
They're at the quarter pole. It is Money's Gold with the lead. Darth Vader has moved to the outside. Pretty Mischievous is in third as the field comes through the stretch, and Pretty Mischievous is kicking in now on the outside. Pretty Mischievous is taking the lead. Darth Vader up into second. Money's Gold is back in third, and then Occult. They're coming down for the finish. It is Pretty Mischievous trying to hold off Darth Vader. They come on for the finish. Pretty Mischievous. She won the Kentucky Oaks, and now she takes the Grade 1 Acorn by a head over Darth Vader.
Gallop out go there a little bit, because there was nothing between those two even a furlong past the wire. A very competitive matchup in the 1 mile Acorn Stakes, mile and a 16th, I should say. Formerly a mile race, but it went to a mile and a 16th this year. Still a 1-turn race at Belmont. They stay around 1 turn, but they shorten to 7/8 of a mile. Of these two in a third rematch, does the 7 furlongs shift your opinion at all?
It does, and that's just one of the factors here. First of all, Pretty Mischievous is buried on the rail, and I can envision her not getting a great trip, because she's not really the kind of filly you want to bust out of the gate and send. You want her to settle a little bit. And so she's going to have to get a little bit of luck to be in a position to fire her best shot. Now, what may happen to Pretty Mischievous in this race happened to Darth Vader in the Acorn. She had the rail that day, and she broke running, and she was trapped on the inside, and she was wanting to go, but she was uncomfortable down there because she was bottled up and had nowhere to go. And into the far turn, Pretty Mischievous maneuvered herself to the outside and got her momentum going. She was in full flight in the clear outside, while Darth Vader was still bottled up and had nowhere to go. Finally, Pretty Mischievous went by her. Darth Vader had that gangle off the rail and then come get a filly who had already built up all the momentum, and she missed by this much. It was a fantastic effort for Darth Vader, who may be better sprinting than routing anyway. Look at the work tabs for Darth Vader since that race. Bullet work, 59-2, fastest at 20. Another bullet work before that, 1:03. I mean, she's obviously doing great. And Pretty Mischievous is 9-5 on the morning line, and Darth Vader is 6-1 on the morning line. I don't think the discrepancy is that big, quite frankly. And plus, I mean, you've got speed in the race. Money's Gold's going to bust out there and go. Maple Leaf Mel will bust out there and go. I mean, and Darth Vader, quicker, I think, or at least more tactical speed, I'm sure she has, over Pretty Mischievous, might be first over on those two and get the jump. And again, gambling at 6-1, that's how I see the race. So it's a great race. I mean, who knows how good Maple Leaf Mel is, undefeated in 5 starts, but she's probably going to have to deal with Money's Gold. And, Money's Gold may not be quite what we thought she was, but she can still run a half with anybody. So the race puts up good for Darth Vader, and that's where I'm going.
There are 10 races between Money's Gold and Maple Leaf Mel. Neither has been headed in any start, except Money's Gold was a half length back once at Tampa. So, like, in 10 races, the combined margin of loss at any point in the race, in the pace columns, is a half length in one race out of 10. So that will be a Donnybrook. And when two great speed horses break right next to each other and break on the outside like that, they've got the clear sailing. They've got each other. I mean, that's got to cook. This should be a really fun race to watch. The test stakes coming up Saturday at the Spa. Let's go to the grass for the Saratoga Derby Invitational. It's next up for our handicapping. It's race number 9 on the card Saturday. A mile and 3/16 here for a cool $600,000 purse. We've got a lot of international intrigue in here. Aspen Grove scratched today. She was entered in the race for the fillies and the Oaks today. The Saratoga Derby or Saratoga Oaks Invitational is Friday as we record our podcast. She scratched from that race, so the assumption I'm thinking is she'll go against the boys on Saturday. She was cross-entered in both races. You got Lion of War coming in from overseas, so a race with a little bit of give to the turf course, perhaps at Saratoga this Saturday. I always like to say handicap the parentheses when you get an off-turf course. Look for the horses who have a foreign country then parentheses behind their name or in their pedigrees. You know, they tend to get more experience and more pedigree to run over the softer turf courses. So I'll be looking at horses like that. But you got Mondego, you got Trading Program, you got Aspen Grove, the franchise. There are a lot of parentheses in this particular race, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a lot of, yeah, exactly. GB, IRE. Then you got Farbridge, who's the American horse. He's actually the favorite based on his win in the Belmont Derby, which was quite good. There's nothing wrong with that race. Lion of War, another GB, Britain horse. One thing I looked about this race is that I think it's going to be slowly run early, which is to say, I don't see anybody who's going to bust out there and go 23 and 46 and change. This looks like a galloper's race. Mm-hmm. And that could really help Program Trading, who, trust me, has speed. I mean, he does. They may not allow him to show it, but he was into the bridle in his most recent race, and I loved it. And numbers-wise, it was a powerful race, a very fast race. He's going through his conditions, got a good inside draw, and I think Program Trading, based on that, to me, very impressive allowance race, has a chance to step forward yet again and getting a very favorable pace scenario. Is going to run much better, I think, than he even when he won his allowance race. And that puts him right there with these horses at 7-2 under Flavien Prat. So I like Program Trading, and I based on the visuals that I saw from his most recent allowance win.
Well, let's go back and take a look at that one because this is a horse stepping up into the stakes ranks. Let's introduce him to the public here. Program Trading from Belmont Park on June 25th.
Program Trading, and on the outside, it is Scramble with Operation Torch moving into third. It's Scramble and Program Trading with Operation Torch on the outside. Now Program Trading in front. Operation Torch driving up on the outside. Program Trading has the lead, and Program Trading is going to make it 2 for 2 in his career. Program Trading the winner. Operation Torch.
We've seen Turner Chad Brown with a ton of success with these Lope de Vegas. The horse with the international pedigree there, the Irish son of Chamardel, the French Derby winner. So a lot of pedigree there to play with out of Dreamlike. So Program Trading could be any kind, and we've seen 2 good starts from that one to this point, and now the step up in class in the Saratoga Invitational Derby. To the Whitney we go. It's race number 10 next up on the program at Saratoga on Saturday. Of course, this is a Breeders' Cup Classic win, and you're in. And the number 1 ranked horse in the country right now is none other than Cody's Wish. Cody's Wish has won 6 in a row. The question, Jeff, we've been talking about this since maybe the Met Mile or maybe even earlier in the year than that. We thought the Whitney would be the stretch out race for Cody's Wish, right? A mile and an eighth, grade 1 company. Speed horses tend to do pretty well in this race historically. The mile and eighth at Saratoga starts close to the clubhouse turn, so it's kind of run aggressively early, and they kind of come slingshotting off that clubhouse turn with a short run into it. So it plays to some horses with some speed and some tactical ability. Cody's Wish comes from behind in 1-turn races, comes from behind in 2-turn races. This is an interesting deal with the outside post. Is Cody's Wish vulnerable going 2 turns from the outside draw on Saturday, or does he just keep punching for 7 in a row?
Well, that's the question, and that's what Bill Mott's going to try to figure out. There really isn't any reason in the world that Cody's Wish wouldn't go long and run long, being by Curlin. I know earlier in his career he wasn't quite as effective, going at 2 turns, and so they backed him up. And he's been devastating in his 1-turn races. This is the time to stretch him out again. He's been so good in all of his recent races. And the answer to your question is I think he will find a way to overcome it. Now, Charge It, we know how good he can be when he wants to be. And we don't know if that last race just flattered him because it was a small field, really soft pace, and he looked like he can look when he's good. So I don't know. Maybe if they just hand him the front end and Charge It gets loose, maybe he makes a really good run for it. But I think Cody's Wish is going to find a way. This is an important race because it'll determine what path they take from here on in. Obviously, Cody's Wish won the Breeders' Cup Mile at Keeneland, and that was a 2-turn race, and so as devastating as he was that day, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be able to handle an extra furlong if he's that good, and he certainly is. I think no matter what the pace scenario is, no matter how the race shape comes up, Cody's Wish will find a way. That's how good he is. That's how good I believe he was. Now, is he a gamble? Of course not. He's 1 to 2 in the morning line. Right. But if you are a fan of the sport and you want Cody's Wish to prove that he can be a Breeders' Cup Classic type of horse this year, this was the race he's supposed to win, and I think he will.
Now he gets a rematch with the 2-3 finishers behind him in the Met Mile, Zandon and White Abario. Let's go back and take a look at that one from Belmont Park back in June.
Cody's Wish is making a big move on the extreme outside. Cody's Wish is picking off horses as they come for the top of the stretch in the Met Mile. Here comes Cody's Wish on the outside. Now to grab the lead. Slow down, Andy. Down towards the rail. It is Cody's Wish in front. Cody's Wish is drawing away. Cody's Wish putting in a huge effort here. Then it's Zandon and White Abario. But it's Cody's Wish, and this beautiful racing story continues with this terrific racehorse. He has now won 6 in a row.
Story is named for Cody Dorman, who is in Saratoga. There was a lot of social media photos and videos this morning of Cody's Wish, the horse, coming up and greeting Cody Dorman in his wheelchair. And those are the feel-good moments that make this story so great. And, of course, racing is going to keep presenting that out there. It's such a great story that we know a lot. We've seen it a lot as people follow racing. But for the non-racing public, it's a story that you want to keep, pushing out there in the mainstream because it really is a heartwarming deal. And for Cody Dorman this morning, getting to see Cody's Wish up close. They'll cross the fingers hopefully tomorrow and see him in the winner's circle after the Whitney Stakes. Now let's go to Del Mar on Saturday for their first real big main event, I'd say, of the meet. It's the Clement Hirsch Stakes. This is Grade 1 company, $400,000. Last weekend, we've had the San Diego, and we had the Bing Crosby for the sprinters. But this one moves to the Breeders' Cup Distaff division. There's only 5 in here. Bob Baffert's got Fun to Dream and Adair Manor. John Sadler's got Kirsten Bosch in here, and you got 2 from Phil D'Amato, Elm Drive, and Desert Dawn. This race could run through Adair Manor, though, as she's won 3 in a row. Jeff, let's take a look at her training through XBTV, who's on the grounds at both Saratoga and Del Mar, doing a great job tracking workouts this summer. Make sure you check out xbtv.com for all of those workouts. What do you see here from Adair Manor at Del Mar?
I see a filly who doesn't look like she's working 6 furlongs in 110 and 3. Not really being asked at all, by herself, striding out beautifully. Always a very willing worker. Looks like she has found her mojo this year. She's won her last 3. Numbers continue to rise. She's obviously dead fit. She had one poor run at Del Mar earlier in her career when she was beaten in a maiden race. I don't know how that happened. But she certainly looked like she liked the track there. And here's the thing, though. You've got Fun to Dream, who's the other Baffert, and she's a filly who wants to sit back and blast home. You've got Adair Manor, who on paper looks like she prefers to be in front and not likely to get it with Elm Drive, the sprinter stretching out. So does this not look like a race that would set up for Fun to Dream? That's what I initially thought. And I originally went to Fun to Dream. Then I watched that workout, and then I realized that Adair Manor can sit second. I mean, if I were Warner and Anders, I'd say, look, I don't think Elm Drive can go a mile on the 16th, but if she can, I tip my hat to her. But I'm not going to go head and head with her and set things up for Fun to Dream. So let Elm Drive go. I can sit second. She's done that before.
Mm-hmm.
And then try to gobble her up at the top of the stretch and then look over your shoulder and see where Fun to Dream is. And the way Adair Manor has been training and the way she's been winning, I mean, again, 4 to 5 on the morning line is a gamble, probably not. But Fun to Dream's only 9 to 5 herself on a small field, so it looks like that's the way it's going to be. And I do think Adair Manor, given her current form and given the fact that she's going to get a great stalking trip, which she can do, I think she will probably prove best over the late running Fun to Dream. It's a tactical race. It's a good race. It's a Bob Baffert race. We're used to those, and just a matter of which one can step forward and become one of the major players in the Breeders' Cup for the Amera Distaff division, and we'll see if Adair Manor can continue her winning ways.
Fun to Dream's been favored in 7 of 8 starts lifetime. Adair Manor's been favored in 10 of her last 11. Something's got to give on the tote board. I think Adair Manor will be the favorite amongst those two. People like the win streaks. Fun to Dream got beat last time in March just by Amore in the Beholder Mile. So the 3-race win streak and the margins for Adair Manor, I think that'll carry the day in terms of the tote. In terms of the horse's bet. She does rematch with Kirsten Bosch and Desert Dawn. So if you like handicapping video, go back to the Santa Margarita, the grade 2 race that she won when she beat Kirsten Bosch and Desert Dawn. Maybe you can try to decipher something out of there to work the exactas underneath. But good race to check out in terms of your visual handicapping, the Santa Margarita, June 10th. At Santa Anita. Let's turn our attention to Sunday next up, and it's the West Virginia Derby at Mountaineer. It'll be a night card at Mountaineer, the first time in about 20 years that they're going to run the West Virginia Derby at night. Post time for this race is somewhere around 8:15, 8:20, I believe. So it's not going to be under the lights quite yet, but it will be a night card at Mountaineer, first post 5 o'clock Eastern. The grade 3 $500,000 West Virginia Derby is the Express Bet race of the week. You can get my full analysis at the Express Bet newsletter sent around to you and the First Bet newsletter. So be sure to check that out. Also posted in the blog section at news.first.com and at expressbet.com. Jeff, we did our handicapping separate on this, but I know who you like in here, and we are in agreement. We're both picking Tappett's Conquest to win the West Virginia Derby. The Brad Cox trainee won last time out, I thought, in a good allowance race at Ellis Park. Beat a horse, Magic Tap, who was well thought of. And 2 starts back against Arabian Night. There was no shame in that performance on the Preakness undercard. But let's let the fans see the Sir Barton 2 starts back at Pimlico, where it was Arabian Lion who was very strong that day, but a good second-place finish from Tappett's Conquest.
Tappett's Conquest trying to push on by. They're both under a bit of a ride now with a quarter to go at Pimlico, but Arabian Lion is responding under John Velasquez. Turns in with a 2-length lead. And Tappett's Conquest on the outside, still trying to come back for a little more. 3/60 of a mile left to go. Arabian Lion gets a tap to go on. About a length and 3/4 at 2 in front from Tappett's Conquest on the outside, who keeps on trying. But Arabian Lion is bounding home in the Sir Barton Stakes. Arabian Lion coming home to win by 4. Second, Tappett's Conquest.
I like that he didn't fold the tent, Jeff. When you get a big favorite like that who draws away from you, a lot of times horses just they wrap up and they're done. Still trying the whole way through the wire. I thought it was a good effort from Tappett's Conquest. He's drawn really well here for the 1 1/8 at Mountaineer in the 3-hole. I like his chances in here, and I know you do as well.
One of the things that I look at when I see a horse's race is, okay, they got beat. Tappett's Conquest was beaten 4 lengths by Arabian Lion, who would be 1 to 9 in this race, by the way.
Right.
But what I like to look at is, okay, he couldn't beat the winner. What about the rest of them? And in this race, you could just saw it. He was 6 clear of everybody else. He ran a winning race. Then in his next start, he won by a head. Looked like he was kind of life and death. But the runner-up was 5 clear of the third horse, who was 8 clear of the next horse. So he's running really well and against good horses, and his numbers are very strong. He's a Tappet colt. He's not some used up 3-year-old. He's only had 7 starts. Yeah. He's good form, and I like the tactical speed he's got. You mentioned the good draw. You can pretty much be wherever he wants to be. Again, numbers wise, he's the winner if he just runs back to either one of his last 2 races. There's no reason why he wouldn't. So I like Tappett's Conquest, and I mean 4 to 1. I would take that right now if I could get it.
And the West Virginia Derby has a serious aqueduct spring flavor. You got the Gotham winner back in this spot, Race Kane, and you got the Wood Memorial winner, Lord Miles. So Saffy Joseph Jr. with Lord Miles. Joseph also has West Coast Cowboy in here as he looks for back-to-back wins in the West Virginia Derby. Of course, won it last year with Skippy Longstocking. Be remiss if you didn't mention Steve Asmussen, a 5-time winner of the West Virginia Derby. He's got more wins in this race than anybody else. He's got Red Route 1, a horse we've always liked a little bit, but he just doesn't seem to get there. This race doesn't look particularly fast to me on paper. It looks okay with 1 in Vermilion in terms of some speed, but I don't think there's enough pace in here for Red Route 1, and I'm kind of off his bandwagon in a race like this. It's a race that earlier in the spring you'd have said he'd have been one of the ones to circle for the West Virginia Derby, but I don't know. I just don't have a good vibe on Red Route 1 this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he's 7-2 in the morning line, and I don't see anything in his chart that would lead me to believe he's better than Tappett's Conquest, who's 4-1.
Right.
So, and Tappett's Conquest certainly has more tactical speed and has maybe got an upside that Red Route 1 does not have anymore. I mean, we liked him for the obvious reasons, but he really hasn't done anything recently. So I don't know. I mean, if he beats me, he beats me. I'm fine with that. I just think that Tappett's Conquest is better, and I think Tappett's Conquest is better than Lord Miles and the rest of these horses that were good in the winter, but maybe haven't gone far. 1 in Vermilion, I saw him out here in California. He's very fast. I just don't know about a mile and an eighth for him. So I like who I picked. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. Let's see what kind of price we can get on Tappett's Conquest. A couple reminders for you this weekend. Hambletonian Saturday at the Meadowlands. Be sure to play the Hambo with us at ExpressBet. Up to a 10% rebate at the Meadowlands Friday and Saturdays here when you bet with First Bet and ExpressBet. So get up to a 10% rebate depending on the wagers you play, between 5 and 10% on that Hambletonian card. Al Samagli, our resident harness experts, got a great video up for you, taking a look at both Hambo eliminations. Go back and watch the replays of those. Get Al's analysis of the top contenders for the race, and he'll also have his handicapping blog posted tomorrow for the Hambletonian. But if you want to go to the YouTube page now, you can check out Al Samaglia's Hambletonian contenders analysis with a look back at both eliminations, the ExpressBet YouTube page where you can find that. Also on Saturday, I want to remind you, when you play Saratoga with us with First Bet and ExpressBet, there are $30,000 in hit and split wagers in the pick fours on Saturday at the Spa. The late pick four, races 9 through 12, which includes the Whitney, has a $15,000 hit and split. That means whatever pari-mutuel winnings you get, you're also going to split $15,000 with just the winners who play with First Bet and ExpressBet. So a chance to really juice up the payback on your tickets. Playing the pick fours on Saturday. $30,000 in all. There are 4 pick fours on the card. The first 3 are all seeded with an additional $5,000. The big one, races 9 through 12, will have a $15,000 bonus when you play with the hit and split. And also handicapping tournament this weekend for Saratoga, so be sure to check that out. Along with week number 3 of our Fun in the Sun handicapping tournament, the progressive jackpot building towards the Labor Day weekend finale for the handicapping tournament, already up over $12,000 in prize money. So play each week for individual prizes and then try to earn a seat to the final table and play in that Labor Day weekend contest, the final weekend of Saratoga and Del Mar. That's going to wrap things up. Before we go, we want to throw a few more picks at you. Eddie Olczyk's got his hat trick play for Saturday. Here are Eddie Olczyk's top 3 picks on the card Saturday at Del Mar. You can get these at ExpressBet and First Bet exclusively each weekend. We've got race number 2, Team Drama, the 7, the race 4, 5, Christie's Tiger, and race number 11, the 5, DeJoria. The one thing those all have in common, Jeff, they're all 6-1 in the morning line. So Eddie going for some nice, juicy, medium prices there at Del Mar. And that's been a place where you've been able to get a little bit of a price here the first week or 2 of the meet.
For sure. I'm glad you put that up because I'm just about to start my Saturday dive in. I've got a lot of work to do. I got to do Saratoga and Del Mar full card analysis and wagering strategies for ExpressBet people. You can get it on the website there. I'll have it posted somewhere in the middle of the night. So, but I'll have that. I'm going to leave you with one more bonus pick. Why not? And I wasn't going to mention this, but when I have a horse that's 15-1, I think it's my duty to at least lay it out there. So this was a race that we didn't cover, but it's a stakes race at Ellis Park. Goes as the 8th. It's called the Kentucky Downs Preview Dueling Grounds Derby. It's a derby, so I thought we'd talk about it. And there's a horse in here listed at 15-1 in the morning line. Again, the 8th race at Ellis on Saturday. His name is Act of Fool. It's a Larry Ravelli trained son of Oscar Performance. Got beaten his first race by 50 lengths, but he's better than that because in his next 4 starts, he won off by himself. 4 in a row, every race better than the previous. He's coming off the win in the Hawthorne Derby, gate to wire, again by that very young and very popular and successful grass sire Oscar Performance. This race, 1 1/8 on the grass. He's going to be the controlling speed again. I don't know what 15-1 is. It's on the paper. So where's fixed odds betting when you need it, I guess, because I don't think he's going to be that price. But even if he's half that, I think he's got a really good chance to continue his winning ways. So in the 8th race at Ellis on Saturday, look at number 6, the front-running Act of Fool, lightly raced but getting better with every start. Act of Fool maybe to win that race at Ellis on Saturday.
Bonus bets, baby, from Jeff Siegel. We'll take it on the way out here on the First Call podcast. So our 8 stakes are complete and a little bonus extra from Eddie and Jeff as well. So you are now set for the weekend. Jeff and I will return on Tuesday for It's Official when we'll recap a huge weekend. We'll see if Cody's Wish remains the #1 ranked horse in America. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday.